you're determining coming out the gate who gets the ninth inning, how do you go about that here in spring training?
Well, with that we have, like I said yesterday, right? Without Daniel, bouncing back as we'd hoped to be ready for spring training and hopefully the season to see where he was at. I think the likely candidates are Justin and Tyler as we sit here today. And I think there's really no need to to really talk to those guys. These guys know, right? I mean, we'll talk, and as the spring progresses, those conversations will tighten up about really, role expectation and such. But that will be determined by how we go through spring training, how they're throwing the ball, through our coach's critical eye, what we see and what we feel will be the best thing for the team.
We spoke with Quantrill a little bit this
Right.
morning, and he was talking a little bit about, when you go to a new team, those are new resources that you now can tap into
Right.
to have conversations and learn,
Right.
different things, and vice versa, that he can show that. Like, is that
Sure.
something that you notice in new players, or
Yeah.
things that you've experienced?
Yeah, I experienced that myself. I think that, I think you draw from every experience that you go through. I do think it's I think it's great if one player can spend his whole career with one team, right? I mean, that's special stuff. And you build relationships that way, right? When you think of some of the players that I played with, who became Hall of Famers, one organization, a lot of, the coaches, the managers remain the same. But, conversely, when you change teams, you hear new coaches, you hear new voices, and you might pick up on something that you hadn't heard before, which, might be beneficial. And I think that's something that, I learned, when I went from, as a minor league player with Seattle, got traded to Kansas City, was there for a, pretty significant amount of time, got traded to Cleveland, got introduced to Mark Wiley, who was my pitching coach in Cleveland, right? And I thought Mark was a tremendous pitching coach. So I learned a lot from Mark, other players on that team. Then I went to the Giants, Roger Craig, Dusty Baker, Billy Swift, some players that, just you learn as you go into new environments. So I think with Cal, his, third organization now, I mean, he'll pick up some things from us that will help him. And conversely, we'll learn from him too. What are some of the things that, he was able to glean from San Diego, from Cleveland, which, is a really strong pitching organization, because I know a lot of those people there in Cleveland from my ties there. So he'll be able to bring, it works both ways. We can bring him new ideas and baseball conversation, and he can bring the same thing back to us. So I think that's cool. Yeah, and I think he's the type of guy. I think he's cerebral. I think he's a conversationalist. He'll add to the group, and I think I've already heard that. I've talking to Kyle, talking to Gomber, other pitchers. The common theme. Hey, Cal Quantrill, good guy. Glad we have him. So good stuff.
Hey, but I was just wondering with Ryan Feltner, obviously he sustained that injury last season, but he came back for, I believe, a couple starts at the end of last season. So I was wondering how important those last couple starts were for him and where his confidence level was at coming into this season, where he's obviously fighting for a rotation spot.
Huge for Ryan. I think that was, none of us have been in his shoes, right? I mean, I've been hit before as a pitcher. I've been hit, in my body, but not in the head. That's a different ballgame. So, I think his goal was to come back, and I think it's more, the mental comeback as opposed to the physical. I think with players, physically, I think they're all, able and confident that they're going to come back because they have, that belief in their talent, in their body, and in pitcher's case, their stuff, their arm. That I'm going to come back. But the mental hurdle is the biggest challenge, and I think him coming back cleared that hurdle. And I think as we go into this spring, each live batting practice, each exhibition game, then we get into the season, those, that will be I don't want to say a distant reminder, but it will be something that he'll look back and know that he overcame.
How was Peter Lambert last year? You put him on that innings budget.
Right.
He got to the end of it, and at times, it seems like after you moved to the rotation, really became effective. What was the development for him last year, and what's next?
Yeah, I think with Peter, with him, and this is from my perspective, and I told Peter, I want to view you as a regular normal pitcher. You're not a pitcher rehabbing anymore from Tommy John. You're healthy. That's the thing of the past. It happens in this game. Pitchers require surgeries. Pitchers get Tommy Johns. You're past that. You're back. That's what I wanted to happen as far as Peter and I's conversation about pitching. And I think Peter wanted to get there too. But until you get there and you go through the process of getting back on a major league mound, throwing innings, throwing games, bouncing back, being available as he was in the bullpen, and then moving into the rotation and being consistent as far as making starts and being durable. Peter passed those tests. We shut him down there at the end because there was an innings limit, and he'd ran out of gas. But now I think it's full go. He's ready to go. He feels great. I like his stuff. He's in a good spot.
Going back to when you first came up, I think in 19, to the end of last season, you guys all along have been looking for some development things to keep him in the strike zone,
Right.
clean up the motion. What are the things that you felt like he improved on?
Yeah, I think there was a couple things with the delivery that Daryl and Peter can probably speak to a little bit more defined than I can, but for me, it's mechanics wise. I think there was a little bit of too much effort at times to get his stuff, and I think he understands that being under control, having good rhythm, good tempo, not overthrowing the ball delivery wise, I think will help him. That's sort of has been my message to Peter, because his stuff is plenty good enough. He doesn't need to try to overthrow the ball. Secondly, I think his pitch mix. Pitchers are always experimenting. Pitchers are always trying to, add to their arsenal or make certain pitches act differently. And I think Peter, for me, tried to do a little too much with his stuff. I think, if we simplify it, he's got 4 quality pitches. I think he realizes that now. I think he understands, his type of breaking pitches, the curveball and the slider. What his fastball does and what his changeup is. So his pitches are his, and I think he understands. Now truly, his the spin he has to create, his release point, his arm slot, all those things, and now it's just a matter of making pitches. So he's not. I don't think Peter is tinkering as much as maybe he had the previous 12 to 18 months.
When you look at that group at the back of the rotation, Peter, Feltner, Noah Davis, maybe Ty Block. I don't know if he's going to pitch
Ty,
shorter innings yet.
I don't know where you have Hudson in there, but there's we got to see where Dakota is as well.
Okay.
But
so, do you kind of in your mind have have an order back there, or do
No.
you just want them to?
No, there's no, because, every start's the same, right? I don't have an order, because once the season starts, every game means the same, and every starter's responsibility is the same as the previous guy's responsibility. So you can't place any weight on, game 1, game 3, game 27, game 76, right? They all count the same. So they all have to pull their weight. They all have to, share in the responsibility of what it means to be in the starting rotation.
When you look at Dakota, he finished the year on the mound. I mean, do you still need to see health at this point? Is it just?
Yeah, I want to see him up close and personal. I mean, I can answer some of these questions, in a couple weeks. Once he gets his legs underneath him here, he's with a new team. This is all new to him. He's going through something that he hasn't gone through. New organization, spring training in Arizona, new coaches, new staff, new teammates. To Patrick's question, right? He's going through this, and it might be a big breath of fresh air for him. I think that's possible. There might be some rejuvenation. I know he had a good winter. He was focused on a couple different things physically and with his stuff. So, I'm looking forward to seeing it. But I can probably answer that better here in a couple weeks about what I see. But, when he's right, and, there was, times with St. Louis over the previous seasons where it was right, we got to recapture that.
What type of qualities are you looking for in your players just to earn their spot on the rotation, maybe even beyond the ability to throw the ball?
Well, again, I think what you want is durability, right? I mean, there's a talent aspect that you want in your pitcher when they take them out, right? You want talent, right? You want a guy that's good, but also you want your best pitchers to be able to go to the post and pitch over 6 months. So durability is important for me, for all organizations, about the to be dependable, health wise, because the talent will show up over a 6 month period. There'll be some ups and downs. There'll be some peaks and valleys, but if your best pitchers make their starts, that's what we're looking for.
Until Gilbreth comes back, it'll really just be Beeks as a left-hander. I know there's some other lefties here.
Evan Justice is here.
Sure.
He touched the big leagues last year. I mean, not a lot of minor league innings, but a really good arm. Patrick, really good arm. And we'll see where that takes him. But I'm glad that he got to the big leagues because the experience, and he's what, 3 levels last 3 levels? Yeah. But yeah, until Gilbreth comes out, I mean, Beeks is in our pen. But until Gilbreth comes back, unless Justice makes the team, don't want to count. If you're just going on the left-handed angle,
is there pressure to add another lefty, or is it does the handedness not matter? You just want the best relievers.
I think we got the best relievers, and I think certain teams has shown that that left-handedness or right-handedness at times doesn't matter. I think the Astros didn't have a lefty, and there's teams that have been successful that have been not having that left-handed dominant relief pitcher. But you sort of want it. Yeah, you sort of want it for sure. Because there's some left-handed hitters who just don't hit left-handed pitching, regardless of the talent of the left-handed pitcher. But you can't, a lot of times you can't force it. You can't force it.
In a camp
if it's not there.
In a camp where you want to see some of the younger guys, also some of the younger starting pitching types, do you add in B games, backfield games, just to make sure that everybody gets their?
We'll see.
Give
I
them a
mean,
chance to
we'll
see
see.
those
We'll see. There might be some scenarios where, we have them face some minor league hitters just to, for evaluation purposes. We'll see where that goes. But, as of now, we don't foresee any of that. But if there's a need, there will be. But in that scenario, it takes two to tango. We need another team wanting that too.
Right.
You need another team that wants to play a B game. And usually what happens during the course of spring, I'll get a phone call from a team and they'll call me and say, hey, buddy, I would have any desire to have a B game on Wednesday. Something like that. Then I'll go to Daryl and say, Daryl, do we need a B game?
Right.
And Daryl will say, yeah, that'd be great. Or Daryl said, no need. Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks, Artie. Is that a new notepad, Thomas?
Yeah, I ordered it, I didn't like it, but it's okay. It's just,
It's just okay.
all right, we'll roll. Okay, buddy, can I go a little bit deeper into the guys I asked you about yesterday, Lawrence and Kenny? With Justin Lawrence, obviously there were a lot of ups and downs there.
Right.
Tell me how you feel he handled that mentally, emotionally throughout the course of the season, because it was a lot for the first full year.
Yeah, I thought he handled it well, right? I think the thing that's important is to understand that you are going through the ups and downs, and it's going to happen. But what you don't want to happen is have the lows too low and the highs too high emotionally, because that's with an everyday game like we have, that's hard to to really stay balanced emotionally. So I think that's the thing that my message to him is that there's going to be successes, and in his case I think there's going to be a lot of successes, but there's going to be some hiccups too, and you can't let the hiccups take you down emotionally. You have to stay as even keeled as possible, even when you're riding the great wave. You can't get too overconfident, and when you're in a little bit of a valley, you can't get too low. And the good ones, the good guys who pitch at the back end of games, have that ability to be able to handle that day to day.
Deep down, do you think, and who knows, how things are going to work out, and Barr will get back at some point, but do you think that there's a ninth inning guy there?
Yeah, I think so. And he's growing into learning how to be that guy. And there's a lot of people in my camp who truly believe the ninth inning is different than any other inning. I think if you ask a lot of managers, coaches, general managers, players, I think majority of us think that way. It's different. And it just doesn't happen overnight. I mean, there are some young players who come up and can do it. But usually you have to go through the rigors of a season or two, I think at least, to get your footing, secure footing, and that belief that you truly are a major leaguer first,
Mm-hmm.
and then truly are a major league back into the bullpen pitcher.
And he used a pitch that has a lot of action on it, that sweeper of his. How important is it for guys who have pitches that dart out of the zone like that to have something to get them in the zone, whether it's a fastball or a changeup?
Well, it's important. I mean, I think, the ability to throw strikes, late in the game as a reliever is critical, because you do not, want to beat yourself with, too many base on balls. That will always come back to bite you. You look at the great ones, their walk to strikeout ratio is high. Their walk to inning pitch ratio is very good. They don't beat themselves. And I think that as it relates to Justin in particular, he's got really good stuff. And to your question about the movement on it, it's devastating. It's devastating movement. I mean, there's a lot of movement to the fastball and a lot of break to to his breaking ball. His challenge is to get both pitches in the strike zone consistently, and I think we've seen that at times. But it's feel to be able to shorten the break enough to be comfortable to get it in the strike zone when he needs it, and also to impart the spin that will make the break a little bit bigger. And that's called pitching, having the feel to do that. And I think he's right in the midst of learning how to do that, at this level. So, we have all the confidence in the world that he can do that, because, he's thinking the right things, and his goals and objectives with his stuff are in order.
With Kenley, before the injury, he was developing one of the best setup men in this game. When you look at the way he kept that slider in the zone, it's a different slider. What do you see from him? Obviously, he's willing to do whatever you ask, just like Justin. Do you see a ninth inning guy, or do you see a guy that is more a floater? Like, if you need the ninth inning, fine. If you need the seventh inning,
well, I mean, time will tell. I mean, we'll see how this plays out, but we think he's mentally built to handle the ninth inning. To my point that I think the ninth inning's different, right? The emotional side of that, the mentality of what that inning means to the club. I think things are in order there. Now, stuff-wise, he's got that. He's got those weapons that can pitch in the ninth. Velocity with the fastball, swing and miss slider. He's working on a changeup, and he's working on a little bit of a two-seam fastball that has some sink to it. But the bread and butter is the hard four-seam fastball with a devastating slider. But and we talked yesterday, and he's not a secret anymore. Just like Justin's not a secret anymore to the National League in our division. So you got to continue to make adjustments. But again, he's probably a little bit more grounded because he's older than Justin. He's been not that his service time is so much greater than Justin, but he's been around the block a little bit more at the big league level, and around the big league environment.
when you get Bard back, and hopefully you can get him back and get him up to the speed,
Right.
you have sneaky good
Yeah.
back of the bullpen, right?
Well, our bullpen, the way it looks now, I think is potentially a really good one. Health is important. We got to keep the right guys, active and pitching. Right, we got to keep them off the injured list. I mean, that's every team's goal. Every manager, every general manager, every pitching coach is to stay as healthy as possible. But as far as like pure stuff and the ability to get strikeouts, we have those guys. Lawrence has a strikeout in him. Kinley has a strikeout in him. Bird has a strikeout in him. Beeks has a strikeout in him. Mears has a strikeout in him. And a number of guys who are competing for the rest of the spots in the bullpen, they have good stuff. So, but there's no doubt. I mean, our walk rate has to come down with all those guys. That's something that we're focusing on, and they're focusing on as a group and individually.
How much have you gotten to see Anthony Molina? I think I know he's throwing in the lab.
Yeah, he's going to throw it again today.
He's gonna throw it again today.
That's it. I mean, just live, I've just seen him. This will be the second time I've seen him. So, but I like the arm stroke. I can see what the scouts saw in him. I can see, where the fastball plays, right, with velocity. Good feel for the changeup. So, so far everything is advertised from our scouting department.
the thing that I liked about him was a lot of strikeouts and very few walks.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, and yeah, he threw strikes in the minors.
Yeah.
And that, that should translate, wherever you go.
As far as, I guess, the future for him, do you see a guy that just from, well, obviously you've only seen him throw once, I think, but that you want to develop into a starter in the future?
I think that's the reason, why we selected him in the Rule 5 draft was the long-term play with this fellow. Tampa, felt with their present 40-man roster that it was a tough decision for them. But it's hard to find starting pitchers. You get them through the draft. You draft them and you develop them in your own system. But when you get an opportunity to grab somebody like Molina, you take a shot at it. And with that, the Rule 5 provisions, make it tough. But again, our scouts feel and our reports on him that he can be successful in the big leagues, even right now in a role that is maybe less impactful to the outcome of a game, but yet can provide a valuable piece of protection with length in our bullpen and the long-term play of being a starting pitcher.
It's today's Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thomas, today's Saturday the 17th.
Thanks. Okay, that means I need to ask you about Sean Bouchard and what he could bring to the table after seeing what he did at the end of 2022.
National League Player of the Week at the end of 2023. 4 homers in the week, good at-bats. What he did at the end of 2022 and, the numbers he amassed, last year when he came back from the bicep injury. Those were produced in the big leagues. Those at-bats were such where, we gotta hope and believe, and he strongly believes that he can continue to do that. But, his minor league track record of a really solid at-bat with an on-base percentage, he knows the strike zone, all the things we've talked about, are attractive. So, we need more of that type of production as far as on base and some power.
And that's the thing is that, to translate that to the big league level, that at bat, that's what I've been impressed with, that at bat that he has in the minors, he's translated to this level. So
And that's his, that's his ticket.
yeah, you need that.
Yeah, we need that. Okay.
All right, go.